Hello everyone, welcome to Labeed Speeds and Reads, and today I'm going to be doing a short review on the new Netflix movie Bright. Now what prompted me to really even watch the movie as much as do a review of the movie was because I had heard on Rotten Tomatoes the movie had gotten very low critical rating but very high user ratings. And the last movie that I remember really got that was, what was it? I think what movie was it? Not the Avengers movie, the Justice League movie. And frankly, I saw a little bit of the Justice League movie as well as the previous Batman movie, Batman versus Superman, which had, very low critic reviews but very high user reviews, and they sucked. So perhaps I was thinking that maybe this would be a similar thing where it was a fun movie, but it wouldn't be that great of a movie. But I've got to say, this movie was different than the Justice League movies or the Batman versus Superman movies in the sense that it actually was good, but I can understand why the critics didn't like it. So I'll get into it. Now, the first thing I liked about the movie was the world setting was done very quickly, and that's something very important for a sci-fi or fantasy movie to do. Because every movie that's set in a science fiction or a fantasy universe has some unique rules that are different from the world that we live in, and those have to be communicated to the audience quickly and in a manner that lets you understand that, okay, these are the things about this world that are different, and everything else is going to be the same. Some movies parse that information out through the movie, and that can raise a little bit of tension, but then you almost feel like it's a Deus Ex Machina where only the important stuff is revealed when it needs to be revealed. In this particular movie, the way I was watching it, the world setting is revealed very quickly, and then you go at it. So that was pretty cool. And I really like the settings as well. You've got elves, you've got orcs, humans, fairies, and there's mentions of dwarfs. It's set in a sort of a modern day setting. But it's not like Shadowrun. Shadowrun, from what I recall, was where after millennia of not existing, suddenly the elves and the dwarves and everybody else makes their appearance and magic is back in the world. No, this was that, you've sort of been living in this world for a long time. And this is how it is now. I like the sort of the orc ghetto scenes as well as the elf scenes where, you go to Elf Town, it's all shiny, fancy high-rises, people wearing stylish clothing, and then you go to the orc scenes, and it's sort of like, very much so a ghetto. And there's obvious references to the white, rich, affluent Los Angeles and the poor, minority, brown and black Los Angeles. And that's pretty, I don't want to say really heavy-handed, but you could, anyone familiar with that, with history, will get the references immediately. Now, the movie itself, as a cop drama, it was okay, nothing too spectacular, but in that sense, it was sort of like an episode of Star Trek. No offense to any of the Star Trek fans, but most of the Star Trek stories aren't that super exceptional. They're mostly ordinary stories, ordinary detective or adventure stories that are set in an extraordinary setting. And that extraordinary setting is what makes them really fun to watch. The action scenes in the movie, they were tense but predictable. At the end of the day, I didn't think they were anything to write home about, even though I'm talking about it here, but that's not what got me in the movie. The one problem I really had with the action scenes, and this is something I have a problem with a lot of action movies, where there's a villain that will tear through no-name good guys like cops or soldiers, and then when it comes to facing off against our heroes or protagonists, then our heroes will somehow miraculously, not even miraculously, our heroes will put up a good fight. And sometimes that explains, sort of like Lord of the Rings, where the orcs armies will tear through the Gondor defenses, and our heroes will have a much easier time because one of them is a ranger of the north, and one of them is a great dwarf fighter, one of them is a wizard, one of them is a prince, and you got a really badass elf. But in this show, the two cops are supposed to be average cops, nothing super good about them, and then these villains that are just tearing through everybody can't seem to tear through our two heroes. So action movies in general, have to find a way to get around that evil henchman scenario, but it's not a failing in this movie's part, it's just something that it couldn't rise above. I did like the acting as well. Will Smith was Will Smith, and he's usually pretty good, even though sometimes the movies he's been in aren't very good. But I did like the acting. I also liked another thing about this. In certain other movies where it's sort of supposed to be a drama where there's a minority character that's thrown into a role where everyone knows that he's a minority and he's there because he's super exceptional. Here, I thought when they would show the orc officer, and I'm not spoiling anything here because you can see this all in the trailers, the orc officer would be like a super exceptional orc, and this is sort of a test case, and he's going to be great. But no, he wasn't. He was sort of like what was described to almost be an average orc who just thought a little bit different and really wanted to be a policeman. So that was interesting. Now, the movie was built at this great Netflix blockbuster, and it had pretty high production value, but it could have been tighter. Now, I don't know why that was. I mean, it looks like the director put in a lot of effort in the movie, and I understand this is the same director that did Suicide Squad, and I didn't like Suicide Squad. I think for the most part it was pretty stupid. But from what I understand, in Suicide Squad, this director had a lot of producer and production oversight, that there were a lot of decisions they said you have to do this, this, and this. In this particular case, it almost felt like Netflix gave him a giant pile of money and said, have at it, make something wonderful, and said, all right, perfect, we love it, show it. Perhaps a little bit more producer oversight would have made the movie tighter. By tighter, I mean there's a few plot holes that don't make sense, or there's a few lines, story threads that don't come to completion. And not in the sense that, oh, we're setting it up for a prequel. I mean, in this self-contained story here, you didn't complete it. So that's sort of what I'm thinking about the movie. Now, going back to how I started, that the critics gave it very low reviews, but the users gave it very high reviews. I'm going to side with the users on this one, because this movie was not a bad movie by any means. It got, what, like 20-30% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's better than a lot of 60-70% movies that I've seen. Now, I understand somebody's going to say that, yes, Rotten Tomatoes is not really about how good a movie is. It's about an aggregate of what percentage of critics thought it was good or not. But I'm surprised and disappointed at the critics. They should have given this movie more. Not because of its failings, but because of its successes. That it was a fun, good action flick. And I'm really excited about the universe. I want to hear and see more stories in it. And I hope they make some more. That the bad critic reviews don't destroy a great movie. Alright, that's it. Thank you. Join me next time. And I'm planning on doing Star Wars Part 2 perhaps tomorrow. Alright, signing off.